Ladies and gentlemen, on this television program, we are pleased to bring you two of the principals in one of the most talked about criminal trials in the history of American law. I speak of the Reginald Denny trial that took place last month in Los Angeles, California. On this program, for the first time, Reginald Denny will meet one of his attackers. We will look at this tape, and we will also meet two of the jurors, including the juror foreman. What went on inside that jury room, and who wants to challenge a juror and all the jurors who claim they were not intimidated by the possibility of riots in Los Angeles. Here, meeting each other for the first time, our man who was acquitted of attempted murder, acquitted of all serious charges, and is now on probation, a free man. His name is Keith Watson. He's 29, and as you know, he was charged with intent to murder and acquitted of that charge. Also here, and also in the company of an attorney, is the man who was at the center of this horrible videotape drama that once again played itself out in a courtroom in Los Angeles. Here are Reginald Denny and Keith Watson. Come in, gentlemen.
How you doing, Phil?
Okay.
All right. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's all right. No, have a seat here. Your handshake is very impressive. This audience wasn't sure what to do when I introduced you both. They might want to stand up and say for whom their applause was extended. You put your foot on Mr. Denny's neck while he was on the ground after having been taken from his cab. You want this audience and everybody in the world to know that you weren't the man who hit him with a brick on the side of the head. You did, however, place your foot on his neck. Here, once again, is the videotape of the beating of a man who sustained 97 fractures in his head. And we'll bear up with this one more time in advance of our discussion with these two principals in this case.
Enter this area, can expect to, oh, look at that. Terrible. And there's no police presence down here. They will not enter the area. That's right. This is attempted murder. No, there's no shutting down Florence. Let's shut Florence Boulevard down. That's the answer. We're going to tell the LAPD to do that now. Tell LAPD to shut Florence Boulevard down and Normandy because people are still driving through here. That's right.
You shook hands, Mr. Watson. Are you sorry what you did, Keith?
Yes, I'm sorry for the injuries that Mr. Denny suffered.
Are you sorry for your participation in the event?
I have mixed feelings about it.
Well, the audience, I think, would want you to explain what you mean.
What happened to Mr. Denny there at the intersection was terribly unfortunate. He was an innocent victim, an innocent person.
Mm-hmm. Here's the slow-mo of your participation in this, Keith. I just want to make sure this audience understands what the jury considered. You are about to place your foot on Mr. Denny's neck. That'll come up here in a moment as we've decelerated this moment considerably. That's you with your back to us at the top of the screen. You're only the bottom half of your body is visible now. There you are, holding your hand up against a gentleman who's about to throw an aerator. There your foot is on Mr. Denny's neck. You appear to be almost as though you're going to stop him, but that is an aggressive act there. The jury considered this, did not consider it attempted murder, acquitted you of that. This other man is about to hit Mr. Denny with the aerator, which upon striking your body, Reggie, breaks in two. The aerator breaks in two. You had your hand on Mr. Denny's, or your foot on his neck. Do you remember why? Do you remember what you were thinking at that time?
No, I don't. I don't believe there was any thinking being done.
Is it correct to surmise that this aggressive behavior on your part and the part of other people involved in this event was a retribution for the Simi Valley verdict of the 4 police officers, two of whom were subsequently convicted of beating Rodney King?
I think it was more of a reaction instead of a retribution.
A reaction.
Right.
So it is not misleading, then, to say that you were angry when this took place.
Yes.
And it didn't matter who it was. All that mattered was that it was a white person.
Well, there were other nationalities that got assaulted at that intersection as well, so.
Mm-hmm.
I think more than that, Phil, it wasn't necessarily just the Simi Valley verdicts, but right after the verdicts came out, the police came to South Central on 71st and Normandy in a great mass to arrest one person, and people were furious. And I think that was the beginning of it. It wasn't just the verdicts, it was also that part of it.
Here is a remarkable happening in the courtroom involving you, Reggie, and the mothers of not only Keith here, whose mother incidentally is with us and with whom we'll speak in a moment, but also William's mother. Here you are, lucky to be alive, 97 broken bones, and here's what happened in the courtroom. You are about to shake hands and embrace William's mother. I guess you believe vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Here you are embracing Keith's mother. One more thing, Reggie, before we chat with you. Here you are on the stand testifying. This is just a partial testimony that you offered the prosecutors regarding your injuries. Denny on the stand.
And then the eye sits in a socket. The bottom part of that socket, which is right down in here, was shattered, and so now I have a plastic piece in there for my cheek and my eye, and that keeps my eye in place.
Will you have that plastic piece in there holding your eye in place for the rest of your life?
Yes.
What would happen if you didn't have that plastic piece?
My eye would fall down behind my cheek.
Kindly share with this audience, Reggie, your feelings about Keith, and while you're at it, about Mr. Williams.
Well, as far as Henry Watson is concerned, it takes an extremely...
You mean Keith. That's okay. It is Henry Keith Watson. I just don't want to confuse the audience. He prefers to be called Keith, so that's all right.
Keith.
You were saying?
Just that for a man to want to... This was at Mr. Watson's request that I come here, because he was the one who wanted to start this whole thing as far as someone saying an apology, which I find extraordinary, because I don't think I would have that much courage to want to go up to somebody whom I've been accused of doing a lot of bad things to, and then saying to him, I'm sorry, because most of us can't even say sorry to our kids, let alone to an individual whom they don't even know. And what at one time was what I consider to be like a civil war. It wasn't me against Mr. Watson. It was just a lot of bad things happening in a community, and I was just there when something went wrong. It's not a personal vendetta thing. It can't be. It is not. This problem is something that happened before Mr. Watson or I were even born. And we just happened to be caught up into the mess that was created by somebody a long time ago. And it still isn't fixed.
That's right.
So don't we have to do something to knock this crud out? I mean, it's ridiculous.
So, you understand his answer about he has mixed feelings about what happened.
Oh, yes. If I was kicked around a lot by people who are in charge of my community, you got to know that...
You mean the police?
The police, and perhaps even some lawmakers and people who have the final say as to what happens in each community. I mean, we, as, you know, voters have that opportunity to change that, but sometimes it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And
so you've accepted you've processed, thought about, and you understand the rage that minority people feel, not only in LA, but in many large cities, at the perception of a white power establishment that not only doesn't care about them, but appears to rough them up in the process. I don't want to put words in your mouth, I want to understand you.
You know, this is going to be strange for me to say, but for a white person to even have any idea what a minority, what is a minority? We're all humans. What the minority, what? Because there's 10 white guys in this community and 1 black guy? That makes him an alien, a minority? That's nonsense. That makes him a human just like I am. And who gives me, a white guy, the right to tell someone else what they should or should not be doing? That is such nonsense. It takes all of us to make this community work. And the moment we start saying somebody doesn't have the right, that is nonsense.
Right. You don't remember any of these assaults. You don't remember being hit by the brick. You do remember the brick crashing through your cab window.
Something breaking my window of my truck, yes, sir.
And then everything else after that is a blank.
Yes.
And when you look at that tape, you actually wince yourself, don't you?
It must have hurt. I got to say, that must have been a wild day. You know? I mean, it was. I smashed my finger with a hammer before. I can't imagine get hit in the head with anything. That would definitely ruin my day.
And when you see this very naked, bald, brutal aggression against your person, do I understand you to be saying to this audience that you, at that moment, in the historical time of the city of Los Angeles, at that moment, you understand the anger of your attackers?
You know, it's not until something like that happens that perhaps any of us understand the anger of anybody. We all go day to day, drive through the same old community, and, you know, my windows are up, my doors are locked, they don't exist for me. That day, existence came through my window. I am totally aware of what's going on now. And it's unfortunate that it had to come to that. You know, tell me, it's really got to be strange. How many people have ever gotten mad at somebody, you just wanted to grab them and shake them?
Yes.
That community wanted to shake somebody awake, and I was the person they shook. So what? God, it's like...
Well, so what?
You know, it's like, so what? You know, I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Well, it's no big deal, actually. I mean, God, I'm still alive. You know, a lot of people didn't even live. Those are the ones that were, you know, that have...
That's a fact.
That got it worse.
Similarly now, we have a very enlightened white guy here who steps forward to acknowledge that he didn't fully process the consequences of racism and the separation of our societies, etc. Have you had a similar awakening regarding this white man since this event? What have you thought of? How have your attitudes changed, if at all? I'm asking.
Well, Mr. Denny has been outstanding. The things he said, you know, was incredible. And for myself, I just learned to, you know, you think before you react with anything you do, anything in life, you know. And if there's no thought into whatever your actions may be, then, you know, you're going to regret it later on.
Yeah. The dance really, really upset people. You didn't do it. Williams did it. Pow! He hits, and then he celebrates. Made people's blood curdle. As you look back on that now, do you wince yourself? I'm not saying you should. I'm asking you now as you look at that. A celebration like he's just scored a touchdown. The man was half dead, and he hit him in the head with a brick.
Well, Phil, I can't speak for that because as you said, I wasn't that person. So I'm quite sure it did enrage quite a few people. But, you know, I'm not in that person's mind, so I can't speak for that.
You share the feelings of the Los Angeles Times, which is editorialized essentially, let's move on. Not quite as ready, it seems, to facilitate the beginning of a new world for LA are the East Coast papers, who feel justice has not been done here. The system didn't work.
It works fine.
Vigilantism seems to be now forgiven. You got one, now I got one. And that's not the way our forefathers intended this to be. It's a little scary.
Well, maybe at that point it's scary, but we gotta, man, I don't know how many times someone says, I gotta get even for something else. No, healing doesn't start until somebody says, forget the even stuff, let's try to understand what brought us to this point of craziness. And I can't fix whatever's wrong with whatever's going on in everyone's life. I can fix what's wrong with my life, and if I can do that much, maybe my daughter will see that I can do okay. She'll do okay. If she does okay, her friends will do okay. And if we all can do okay, hell, who's to argue with anybody?
So that your daughter's well-being and her long and happy and safe life is promoted, you feel, by a reaching out.
Yes.
Rather than recrimination and...
Yeah, build a wall and shoot over the top of it.
And the same you feel about the people you love.
Correct.
Phil, I'd like to say something about the jury verdict. With regard to, if you live in Los Angeles, we've been through a lot of trauma over the course of the last year and a half. And I think people really do want to put these verdicts behind us. But one thing about this particular jury, this jury has credibility. Los Angeles is a very, very diverse community. And what happened, it was comprised of 4 African Americans, I think 4 Latinos, 2 Asian Americans, and 2 Caucasians, I believe.
Right.
And so that this is a...
Even with the changes, that's what it wound up.
Right, this is what it ended up. And it listened to all the evidence, and they rendered this decision. As you said, one of the things that makes this country great is jury service. And when they render a decision, I think law-abiding citizens live with that. If you don't, you see the kind of thing you saw back on April of 1992.
This audience wants to question both these men. We have 2 jurors who will come out and tell you what it was like in that jury room. There were reports that the jurors, as they were deliberating, could hear the crowds gathering outside. And we'll be back in just a moment. Yes, ma'am.
Keith, I have a, it's real upsetting that you said that you feel like you had mixed emotions of what happened to Mr. Denny. Do you feel that you and your friends made the situation any better by, by coming back and doing this to this gentleman? I mean, do you feel that it was a I mean, you see what I'm saying? Do you feel like that you accomplished anything by doing this to this gentleman? I mean, you said you had mixed emotions about this. Did you feel like you made your point, or, I mean...
Well, I don't have any mixed emotions about Mr. Denny. What happened to him was unfortunate, like I said, and I'm very sorry for that.
Everything that happened in that was...
She's trying to... Mixed emotions conveys the notion that there might be something positive or understandable about you did, and that's a little difficult for a lot of these folks to swallow, Keith, so kindly speak to that.
Yeah.
Well, well, what happened was, that was, this particular incident was brought about because of another incident. So therefore,
Does that make it right? I mean, does that make you feel better because you hurt this man?
No, it doesn't. But what happened prior to this incident, just like this incident, can be
prior
Mr.
to this,
Denny's. Okay, I'm speaking about the King case.
Yes.
Okay.
Rodney King was beaten, in your opinion, by 4 white policemen, as evidence on the videotape, and this bestowed a lot of anger on a lot of people in the city of Los Angeles, especially those who were of color, and that would most certainly include you. So you want that to be what?
I don't want it to happen again. It shouldn't happen again.
Mr. Denny, you have remarkable and admirable courage of forgiveness. When does the anger stop and the forgiveness begin?
What, for me, when did it happen? Gosh, I don't know. It was after quite a few weeks of laying in the hospital before they even told me what had happened. And the first time I heard it was a kind of a big shock. So I'm going, no way, a riot? You know, I mean, it didn't register. And then the next thought was pretty much how would I handle this so that I would have my own respect and also the respect of my daughter. And once I asked those questions of myself, the rest just came natural. I had no other choice than to handle it just the way that, you know, my daughter could be proud of me, and that's what kept me going.
Yes.
Mr. Watson, is this a pattern? Have you ever beaten anyone else?
No, I haven't.
Are you there, caller?
Yes, I am. I would like to say I'm glad that he got beat down.
Why are you glad?
I'm glad because it happened to Rodney King, you know, and it's not an issue between Keith and Mr. Denny, like he said. It's a black and white issue. You know, what happened to Rodney King, that wasn't fair. It happened to this man, and it wasn't fair. But, hey, you know, it happened.
But do two wrongs make a right?
In this case, I think it did.
Do they? You have children?
No.
The question really is, does this tit-for-tat behavior protect innocent people? That's the question. How do we save babies? And most of us want to believe that this is not how we save the most babies. At the same time, it's kind of hard to stand here and look bewildered when we see the evidence of racism.
Well,
yes.
You know, if it's going to start, it needs to start at an early age. You know, they need to teach the children that it's not right at an early age. But when something like this happens, you know, there's going to be riots. You know?
In a moment, we'll talk to to two jurors, one of whom happens to be the forewoman, about the nature of the deliberations that took place as the Denny trial concluded, finally, after 7 weeks with a sequestered jury and actually using 5 of the 6 alternate jurors. We'll be back in just a moment. Carolyn Walters joins us. We're the jury forewoman, and Emily, who was also a juror. You were juror 307. We are pleased to accommodate your interest in not being identified. You have no obligation to do this. Let's make this point. Rich or poor, if you care about America, you've got to serve on a jury. Can't care and then not serve. You didn't get rich doing this, Carolyn and Emily, and we thank you for coming to try and share light on this very, very important and complicated trial. First of all, you can applaud them if you'd like. First of all, these deliberations were very, very intense. Do I understand? Is that so?
Oh, yes.
And intense about what? About language? Do I understand that the real central feature of the dilemma of these jurors was intent? Did the defendants intend to murder Reginald Denny? Do I understand the fundamental question that this jury struggled with?
That's correct.
Talk about that. Tell us about what transpired.
Well,
Ms. Walters.
Well, it was difficult because we had to interpret the law, the way it was written, pertaining to that particular crime of attempted murder.
Right.
And as far as understanding and interpreting the law, we had to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt regarding 2 elements of that specific crime. And one of those elements included specific intent. And we had a debate as to whether Williams and Watson specifically intended, premeditated, willfully, and deliberately intended to kill Denny.
Because that is obliged by the charge, intent to murder. If they are convicted of intent to murder, the potential sentence is life.
Correct.
This audience should also know that the jury had no lesser charge to fall back on under the terms of the instructions of the bench. Is that so?
As far as Williams was concerned, but not Watson.
You were going to say, Emily.
No, I was agreeing with that
yes.
also.
So obviously, all of the jurors, however horrible this tape, could not, beyond a reasonable doubt, given the evidence presented to this trial, conclude that Mr. Watson or Mr. Williams were trying to kill Denny.
That's correct.
Once you decided that, then all you're left with is a handful of misdemeanors, some of which you found for acquittal, some of which you found guilty.
Right.
Except mayhem. There was the mayhem also.
Mayhem against Williams. Felony mayhem.
Yes.
Right.
The most serious charge.
Yes.
A charge that could get him 10 years.
Right.
He's to be sentenced on December 7th. The biggest penalty that could be exacted against Mr. Watson would be a year in prison, and he'd already served 17 months in jail.
6 months.
6 months.
Oh, 6 months was the max.
Yes.
And he'd already served 17, so he's on probation. He has no time.
We'll go back for sentencing, but those will be formalities.
It'll be a formality he's not going to serve, but he will.
We believe that he'll get time served.
Yes. Emily, you'll share with us your own, this had to be a pretty, well, you didn't want this job, did you, Emily?
I didn't know what I was getting into when I mailed my form in for jury service.
And once you were into it?
I just stuck with it. I figure if somebody wants to make a change in their community, then serve, instead of throwing away your paper and harping about it because you couldn't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm. There were raised voices, weren't there? I don't expect you to be, offending personally any other jurors, because but, give us a sense of the, incidentally, could you hear the crowd outside?
Yes, we could.
Yes.
And what did you hear? Angry noises, as in a B movie, or what was it you heard gathering outside?
Very adamant noises, or voices, I should say, as far as free the LA4, free the LA4.
The 4 charged, 2 and 2 to be charged later. For incidents around Normandy.
Yes.
And that didn't intimidate you?
No, not at all.
I've seen that quote. That's hard for Americans to understand.
I know.
This audience wants you to know they'd be scared to death.
We weren't scared to death. First of all, because we had more than enough security. These people that were outside chanting, they didn't know who we were. But more importantly, our job was to do the right thing, and that's what we were concerned with. That's the only thing we were concerned with, and that's what we felt we've done.
Emily, is it your feeling that the prosecutors erred in their approach to this trial with almost like wallpaper charges, just covering them with every which way but Sunday?
I felt that they were overcharged in the beginning.
Intent to murder should probably never have been leveled against these defendants because the prosecution should have anticipated the difficulty of a jury looking into a defendant's mind and deciding that he was intending to kill Reginald Denny.
Absolutely.
Yes.
How come we're so smart and they weren't? They're the prosecutors.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Phil, I think one of the issues here, you dealt with the premeditation. There was no evidence that there was any planning.
And premeditation is an obligation of proof beyond a reasonable doubt for that charge.
Exactly, and it's a point of reflection. There was no information at all that these young men knew each other and that there was any planning involved whatsoever. This was something that happened, a reaction, and it was abrupt.
So we have a fundamental problem with the law then. We, in this case, asked a jury to return a verdict that, as I think upon reflection, all of us might say, is not provable beyond a reasonable doubt.
I don't think it was a fundamental problem with the law. I think it was a fundamental problem with the prosecution making these charges in the initial stages.
Yeah, I'm glad you waited. You wanted to ask.
Yes, I'd like to say just this. I think this is absolutely deplorable, the way that the judicial system has handled Reginald Denny's case versus the Rodney King case. And if anybody who watched that tape had eyes, they could see that this particular beating was strictly racially motivated, whereas the police officers should have been charged. They did beat Rodney King too much, but two wrongs not make a right, and this is sending the wrong message to people.
Are you there? I'm glad you waited. Go ahead, caller.
Yes. As a mother, I have no faith in the justice system anymore for the fact that, how about these serial killers that go, not serial killers, but these guys that open fire, like at McDonald's, that's attempted murder. To me, in my eyes, using a brick, hitting someone in the face, that's the obvious. You're going to try to kill somebody.
William Raspberry, The Washington Post. I can't tell you that I wish Damian Williams and Henry Watson would spend the rest of their lives in prison. I can't tell you that I'm certain it was their intention to kill or permanently maim Reginald Denny. Though it does seem clear that what I saw in the videotape goes far beyond a mere misdemeanor. I can only tell you that what happened in Los Angeles this week looks more like a political, racial, riot prevention balancing act than justice. And we'll be back in just a moment.
To be part of the audience, please send a postcard to Donahue Tickets, care of NBC, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, New York, 10112. Remember, postcards only, please.
Yes, ma'am.
This question is for the members of the jury. Did race have anything to do with the return of the verdict?
No.
Absolutely not.
And I have a quick question for you, Mr. Denny. How was your recovery physically? How did you go through therapy?
Oh, it was interesting. All I can say, you'd almost have to be there, but it was kind of a wild ride, I'll tell you.
When you came to, could you see?
Could I see like out of my eyes?
Yes.
One I could barely, the other one I could not at all.
Do you have headaches now?
No.
Do you have blurred vision?
No, there's a joke there. I give headaches, I don't get it.
Do you have blurred vision?
No, sir. Oh, I actually have a muscle problem in my left eye, but that's corrected with glasses, but I seldom wear them.
Okay. Do I understand that you're more susceptible to colds, or a cold is more consequential for you? Wow, what is that?
Because I have some major fractures in my sinus cavities that the fracture lines in a CAT scan lead right to the inside of my brain, and if a virus travels that path, then I could have a major problem.
The whole sinus, cranial, everything.
So a doctor watches me forever now. I have a surgeon that's assigned to me for the rest of my life.
And you're not working because, first of all, even you have to understand they're not going to rush to put you behind the wheel of a truck now,
right?
Huh?
Yeah. And I have a possibility of a seizure, and so in California they don't want a guy humping 80,000 pounds around town that's going to kind of turn into a space case.
Yeah. Well, we understand.
It'd be kind of interesting ride, I would
but emotionally, you look good. We see that you've got the smile, you got the look, you've got a handshake here for this young man who is in a most unflattering way appearing on the videotape with his foot on your neck. How do we say this? You've rediscovered the Lord, have you not? I mean, you were always a Christian fellow, right?
Yes.
Now it's a little different Christianity.
Yes,
Tell me.
It's coming so close, and this is going to be something that you probably hear a lot of people talk about, but coming so close to the edge and then coming back for whatever reason. And I know surgeons are an extraordinary group of people, but there was also a blessing from God. And if I were to not explore that, I would be a fool. And so I am doing that.
Have?
Yes, sir.
And you feel closer to the Lord now?
Oh, yes, by all means.
And the Lord, in a sense, then calls upon you to forgive
Most
Mr.
definitely.
Watson.
We don't question what God or Jesus has set up for us. We just do it.
Right.
Our questions will be answered when we meet the Lord in person.
Right. And you are enjoying your leisure now. Your daughter is with you. You kind of just hanging out here for a little while, taking it easy, getting the whole heel going here. H-E-A-L, right.
Yes.
And so what happens in the future, you're not sure right now.
And I don't concern myself of it. It's just whatever happens will happen.
You can't go to a Denny's, pardon the pun here, or a McDonald's without being recognized. How are you doing with the celebrity status?
of all things, I wish everybody could experience that, because it's a very unusual feeling to have someone come up who's happy to see me and I do not know who they are. And it's, for the most part, happy. I'd hate to meet the guy that really don't like me, because, you know, that would be kind of a messy situation. But so far, I've been extremely fortunate in the fact that it's been okay, and it's really kind of fun. I guess if there has to be fun coming out of this.
We should also say that you are well represented. Johnny Cochran Jr., you are suing the Los Angeles Police Department for $5 million for what grievance?
Well, basically, Phil, our lawsuit says essentially that the Los Angeles Police Department failed the entire citizens of Los Angeles on the date of this incident, that they provided protection for all the areas of Los Angeles except that area around Florence and Normandy, South Central Los Angeles. And in doing that, they violated the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. Their conduct also increased the danger of citizens like Mr. Denny, Mr. Fidel Lopez, Mr. Harada, who came into that area. All citizens are entitled to the equal protection of the laws. It should never happen again. And the best example of that is, in December, there was a demonstration at that same intersection. We had a new chief of police. Daryl Gates was gone. Willie Williams responded with sufficient officers, and there was no problem. And that's the lesson of this. The police should do their jobs by responding in force, and there would not be a problem. And so our lawsuit seeks to redress for grievances for that, not only for Mr. Denny, but for the others similarly injured.
Keith Watson's mother is here, the woman who was embraced by Reginald Denny during this courtroom drama that involved her son in a very serious legal charge, that of assault with intent to murder, a charge that her son was acquitted of by this jury, and we'll talk to her in this audience in just a moment.
For a transcript of Donahue, send $3 to Journal Graphics, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203, or call 303-831-9000. To order a video cassette for only $24.95, just call 1-800-FOR-VIDEO.
Thanks for waiting, caller. You wanted to say briefly.
Hi, yes, I'd just like to make the comment, there's a person of color. I could understand the outrage that was felt by this community when the Rodney King trial verdict was made public. But at the same time, I did not go out and act on those feelings of outrage. I think Mr. Denny described them best when he said, when Mr. Denny said,
You think what?
I think Mr. Denny described it best when he said this, the sensation you get to just want to shake somebody. I felt that. But at the same time, I'd like to applaud Mr. Denny personally for his courage. And he's one of the good guys. And what makes it so bad is that it had to happen to someone like him, when I could have seen this happening to other people where you wouldn't have been moved as much. But he's a good guy.
She didn't, Keith. She felt like knocking somebody's block off, too, but she didn't do it. She moderated her behavior because she doesn't think that's in the best interest of anything. I mean, we're preaching here, but we want you in here, Keith. What would might you want to say?
Well, I didn't anticipate on the events that took place. I mean, what can I say? It just happened. I mean...
Additionally, Phil, again, the police came into that area. Once they came into the area in a full mass to arrest one person with all these people coming outside, then they said, let's leave, it's not worth it, and they left with all these people in an array. So they have to take some responsibility for it. And these other individuals who say they did not react, they were not there in that situation.
Hang on, just 1 second. What's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter?
Why didn't he go home? He didn't have to be on the corner to riot. He should have been home, where he belonged.
He's a 29-year-old free citizen of the United States. He should have got himself out of this trouble.
Right. Where there's something going on that you don't have to be a part of it. Join in.
Yeah, and why was Rodney King speeding? I mean, isn't that the same question? What was he doing? I'm sorry?
Because Rodney King, I mean, I'm not saying what happened to him was right, but he was being pulled over because he had done something wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. What ridiculous! Rodney King did something wrong. Can you answer that?
No, I can't.
Why?
What?
Did you do it again?
One thing.
I'm waiting for this man to apologize for what he did. He apologized for his injuries. He won't apologize for his participation. Mr. Denny is a better person than I am. I don't think I could forgive everybody. If you were convicted, you would have been apologizing all over the place. That's what I believe.
You said you did this because of the retaliation because of the Rodney King thing. If the situation was different, if Mr. Denny was with like 3 or 4 of his friends and you were alone, would you have had the courage to do the same thing for your cause?
Well, what you fail to realize is that Rodney King incident occurs on a regular basis in my particular area. So therefore, you know, that's business as usual. You understand what I'm saying? What happened to Mr. Denny was an isolated incident. It doesn't occur on a regular basis.
That's been happening to blacks throughout the history.
Well, hang on just a second. Hang on. I promise you, you're going to get on. Just hang on. Mom, we have not heard from you. You do, this is Keith Watson's mom. This is a woman who was embraced in the courtroom by Mr. Denny. You hear this predominantly white audience attempting to express their rage in a civil way. They want your son to apologize. They think it's a kind of half-hearted apology, and they wonder if there is an appreciation for the lawlessness of this behavior.
Well, my son did apologize. He apologized to Mr. Denny, Mr. Tarvin, and I believe Mrs. Maldonado. But I want to express my appreciation to Denny, who is a very genuine person. You will never know. I believe you put the glue in LA for us. You spoke out, and you continue all along on all of your interviews. You continue to say that you didn't have no remorse, you know, about anybody and was willing to forget. And also, I'd like to say, that's my son. You have a daughter. You never know how many nights that I slept trying to realize what happened. I don't know what happened, and I'll never know what happened. But to you, your family, and your mother, I want to say I love you, and God bless you, Denny. I will always love you.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
To be part of the audience, please send a postcard to Donahue Tickets, care of NBC, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, New York, 10112. Remember, postcards only, please.
Thanks for waiting. You wanted to say, caller. Hello?
I wanted to say, hello.
Yes.
I wanted to say that the anger in the audience seems to me to be what led to all of this in the first place, and if we don't calm down and listen to both of them, Denny and Watson, that the same potential exists for all of these riots and beatings to just keep happening.
Mm-hmm. What is your positive intention for being here?
Excuse me?
What is your positive intent for being here? Or is there one?
Well, to meet Mr. Denny and apologize for what took place.
Have you done that?
Yes, I have.
Yes. Yes. You want to just do it one more time for us, Reggie? I'm sorry, Keith, as you look at Reggie, you want to say what?
Mr. Denny, I apologize for my participation in the injuries that you suffered there at Florence and Norman.
You bet, Henry. You know what? It takes more to be back than it does anything else.
We'll be back in just a
Are you all happy now? Is everybody happy now?
Yeah.
The Reginald Denny case continues. Denny confronts his attackers, and jury members tell why they found them not guilty. Next, Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. Watson, I think you've been getting a tough time today, and maybe fairly, but I wanted to ask, do you think that there's anything you could do in the future that would be a better way to react to the injustices in your community?
Yes, I would just stay at home. Stay at home.
Let me tell this audience that we want you to ask your questions, and we'll give you that opportunity. as we return tomorrow for part 2 of this program, which examines the Reginald Denny trial in Los Angeles, which, of course, is all a part of the drama that began with the videotaped beating of Rodney King, excuse me. And we'll be back to allow this audience to ask their questions, not only of the jurors, but of the participants in the trial as well.
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
Accommodations provided by the Drake Swiss Hotel on Park Avenue, New York's premier address for business or leisure, with guest rooms, suites, and conference rooms for up to 200 people. Call 1-800-DRAKE-NEW YORK and ask about our special packages priced from $150.